for 40 years. When I was 21, a wee while ago now, I went to sleep one night as usual, and I usually am really aware that I'm dreaming when I sleep. And so I wake up and I have one of those pregnancy dreams where I think just because biologically I was of age, you know, I was having them quite regularly at this point. Uh, the only thing is, in my dream, I went to sleep and I just assumed that when I woke up from that sleep, I'd be awake, you know, my 21-year-old self again. But when I woke up, I was still in the dream, and then day by day went by, and it took a while for me to wake up. I lived every single day for 40 years, and I talk about it all in a latest episode of Psychic Ish. So go to this.
Later you find out that it never existed or it completely disappears. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a while and really tell this story, because I talked about the phenomenon, but I never told my personal stories, because like I said, I had this happen to me twice, and I was on like the tail end of it happening to like a third person. Like, I'm a part of their story, but I wasn't caught in this weird freaky warp of whatever. I have no explanation for what this even is, but the original creator called it card shuffling. So basically places around 3 a.m. in New Orleans, and some people in my comments said that this has happened in other states across the South, where it's like things are just shuffled around. Certain things disappear. Places, you could be in a bar or something, and then you find out that that place has never existed. You can't find it anywhere. And a lot of people are drawn to New Orleans for these paranormal experiences, and specifically the French Quarter. However, surprisingly, that was not my intention. I was just trying to be young and turn it with my homegirl, and we ended up caught in this weird warp of space and time, and I'm not really sure how to explain this. And I tell the full story on the long form content place if you want to see that one, but I'm going to keep it short here. Mind you, neither one of us are drinking because she's driving. When we get there, we park the car, and this was the first time I'd ever seen this feature on the phone where you can set where you parked your car so you can find it again. Because I started to walk away, and she's like, hold on, like, let me set it. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, she explained it to me. I'm like, that's really dope. And I was like, well, I would have noticed where we were because the building was really specific and there was a cowboy. I'm going to show what the cowboy is. I'm from the country. We're both from the country. So I'm used to seeing this in people's yards. It's not really common to have this like cutout display in like the city and in New Orleans, but I'm familiar with it. So I'm like, oh, I would have noticed this distinct building and the cowboy. I don't know if I can insert a picture. I might, okay, so this is what I mean by the cowboy. This is just like a yard display, and it was propped up against this building. Now, this is just something insignificant that I thought it was just insignificant that I just mentioned. We go, we have a good time. Eventually, my feet start hurting. I'm like, all right, let's go. I want to get in the bed. I want to eat. Like, I just want to go. So the car should not have been far. We start walking, and she's like, for some reason, like it's not even popping up. It's like I didn't even set it. So I'm like, that's really weird. But I remember the street name. I remember the distinct buildings. I remember things. So I'm like, we're gonna find it. Like, don't even trip. So we start walking. Lord, we walked around for hours, looking for the street, looking for the car. The maps aren't making sense. My phone's not making sense. Her phone's not making sense. We're walking around for hours looking for this car. In this one neighborhood, it made no sense. So we've been walking for a while. We're both aggravated, both confused, like, and mind you, stone cold sober. Stone cold sober. None of this is making sense. So we see the cowboy and the building at the exact same time. I go to say something, Lord, and it's like we had been faked out so many times. I kind of didn't want to say something, and like we still weren't in the right place. Like, it made no sense. But Lord, so I see the cowboys like across the street. So I'm like, I know that the car is this way on this street. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm about to say something, and Lord, I don't know if she gasped or what, but we look up and we see the cowboy that's still there in the same spot that it had been. He gets up, just the shadow gets up and starts walking across the street to where we are. So when she kind of like, I felt like she was gonna say something. I just grabbed her hand, and I'm like, it's okay. So I'm just like rubbing her hand, and if like women, we know, even if it's terrifying, somebody has to step up and be like the brave one. So I was being the brave one because I didn't want her to start like freaking out. So I'm holding her hand and I'm just like rubbing her hand. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Everything's all right. I'm like, just cross the street with me. So I hold her hand and I take her and she's like stiff. So he's crossing the street this way. We cross the street that way. As soon as we just kept walking, I'm just like, it's okay. Like, don't, she starts to say something to me. I'm like, don't say anything. And I'm just like rubbing her hand. I'm like, we're good. Like everything's good. Um, so we go like a little bit away. When we make it to the little building, I turn, bam, the car's right there. We must have approached this little area from every which direction for hours. Never came across the car, never came across the cowboy. I didn't watch it. After he like crossed, I kept my head straight. I'm just like holding her hand. I'm talking to her. I didn't watch it. I don't know. And it wasn't until I told this story, like I uploaded it yesterday on the long form content place. Uh, it wasn't until I told that story that I made the connection that possibly us crossing it might have been how we got out of that weird little loop. But it's been years and I hadn't made that connection until yesterday. So I don't really know. And again, this has happened to me again and to somebody else. And then when they kind of like came out of it, I was like at the end of that. But I don't have enough time for those stories. But let me know if you have more of an explanation for this or if you've experienced something like this and where, especially if you experienced it in New Orleans. I really want to know about it. But yeah, let me know.
How does one person have a near death experience and two people experience it in two different ways? Let's set the scene. It was my third pregnancy. I had already had two C-sections. This pregnancy, I want to try to have a vaginal birth, which is called a VBAC. They're very risky because you had already been cut open twice. They run the risk of you rupturing and you and the baby losing too much blood and dying. If you do rupture, there's a 16-minute window before there is mortality. Now, when I'm laboring, I'm feeling something is off. I tell the doctor, I know things look like they're going great, but I have a feeling something is wrong. They're like, no, everything's great. We're looking at your monitors, da 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 da. I'm like, no, I just feel like something is really wrong. I think you guys should take me to the OR now. They're like, no, we would know if something was wrong, whatever. Thank goodness they switched shifts and another doctor came on. It was a black lady with locks. Thank goodness for her because she came in. She said, they keep saying that you want to go to the OR. Why is that? I said, because I have a feeling that something is really wrong and I need to go now. We go down there and guess what? I am ruptured. She says that within like me being on a table for 20 seconds. Now, when you have a C-section, they give you oxygen. Why you would think I'm awake, I should be able to breathe. No, you need that oxygen. I was not getting enough oxygen and I slowly felt myself slipping away. Now, let me tell you, do not ever have a fear of death because I used to be so afraid of death prior to this, but because I started dying and I saw what it felt like, it is almost feels so amazing and peaceful that it's hard to resist. But I knew that I needed to be here. For like I had to talk myself back up to get the strength and energy to tap my husband and let him know that something is wrong. I was just like, oxygen. Like that was the last breath I had in me to be able to get it out. And he's like, she needs oxygen. And they're like, she needs oxygen. Oh my gosh, her numbers are so low. Da, 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 da. But I was like sinking into the death. This video is not sponsored by the Grim Reaper. And I do not recommend anyone try to go for it before it's your time. Now, here's where the story gets juicy. So I bring up almost dying in labor, like during the birth of my son. My mom's like, yeah, I was so scared because when your husband came out the room and he was crying and he was telling us that you were dying and they were in there giving you a blood transfusion right then, that was the scariest day of my life. And I said, I didn't have to have a blood transfusion. And she's like, yes, you did. And I remember distinctly, it was me, and she's naming the people who were in the waiting room, which were the people that were in the waiting room. And she's like, and he came out and I had to hold him because he was so scared. And I'm like, like he was there with me the whole time. He never left. So now I have to call him and find out. And I'm like, hey, did I have to have a blood transfusion? He's like, no, you didn't have to have a blood transfusion. I was like, well, my mom said that you came out and told her that I was in there getting a blood transfusion. He's like, I never left your side, which I know he never left my side. And yes, I almost died, but we didn't tell my mom that because I would never tell my mom that. She is like already paranoid and scared of something happening to one of her kids anyways. So now the question is, all of you people who have all the answers, because it's a ton of you all, how is it that in my near-death experience, there were like 2 different experiences from different people when in reality I did like come this close to death? So then I even looked up the paperwork from the hospital where it said that not only did I have a rupture, the rupture extended over to a major artery to which I lost a substantial amount of blood. But then also on there, it has a part where it says needed a blood transfusion. No. So riddle me this.
I get paid every day, every day. I get paid just to say I get paid, I get paid. Money coming to me easily, money coming in repeatedly, money coming in and needing me, money coming, it's just money coming, it's just money coming in frequently, money coming in to be with me, money coming in secretly.
So what happened was I bought 2 water bottles like this. I have a little basket. I put both of the water bottles in. They were ice cold, like right out of the fridge. I opened it up and I started chugging it. Put the cap back on, set it back into my stroller, wiped my mouth because I had hella water dripping off my chin. And I'm here with like my mom and my kids, my husband, and my daughter comes out and she's like, you guys didn't pay for my stuff. So everyone starts freaking out, like, you know, she's having like a whole little fit. I go to take another drink. I reach to grab my water and I notice that it's full still. So I grab the other water and I notice that it's full. So I'm thinking maybe the pressure from like the heat and it being open, maybe it kind of like suctioned back up and looked full. So I start trying to twist the caps open. They're both fucking sealed. I'm in absolute disbelief. So I'm thinking maybe my husband bought the same water and he took mine because it was opened already and he was just gonna like share with me. I don't like sharing drinks and I'm hella frustrated with him. So when he came out the store, I was like, give me back my water, fool. Don't be drinking all my water like that. He was like, I don't even have a water. Like, I got a candy bar. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I'm in full-blown fucking panic right now. And I'm like, did anybody see me drink water? Did I actually drink water? And my mom's like, yeah, you were chugging that water. Everybody saw me drinking the water. My mouth was fucking cold. I wiped the water from my chin. Like, I know that I opened the water bottle. I just don't understand what happened, how that happened. It was fucking crazy. And I want to go in and ask for the security footage to see if they caught it on camera.
So people all over the world are claiming to have experience with glitch in the matrix. So if you don't know what glitch in the matrix is, these videos will definitely explain exactly what it is. But in my opinion, well, from one video that I saw, is this young lady who got her nails done, all 10 nails, done a certain way. You know, when you go get your nails done, it's very personal. So she got her nails done and none of her nails broke, but she found one of the same exact nail that's on her hand, literally the same exact design, but a different shape in her house. Even though this is like the first time she's ever gotten, unless like the person who lived, that's what I was like trying to explain, like trying to think, you know, try to make it make sense, because it didn't make any sense. Because unless someone who lived in that house before had the exact same design that she got done, which is weird, it doesn't make sense. Or unless like she bought press-ons, because then that
Don't even sit here and fucking play with me. I just had my first fucking glitch in the matrix. So I was sitting down, okay, chilling with some customer, and I looked down, like, directly at my feet, and I thought one of my nails came off, like, dead ass. So I saw it on the floor. Right? So I'm like, oh, fuck, one of my nails came off. So I look at my hands. Okay, right? That's my nail. That's, but none of these bitches are off. Excuse me? No.
Okay, so right now I'm on New Orleans TikTok where they're talking about all the like haunted and like vampire stuff that's like happening to them. And I don't have like a lot of like stories like this, but I do have one of when I was an EMT, and me and my 50-year-old Christian woman partner, who she does not believe in this stuff at all. We were taking this patient that was on a 5150 that was being extended. And so we took her to like a longer stay home, which I've never seen like a home like this in LA before. But it was basically like this wood house in Atwater Village. And the moment you pull up, it just looks like this wooden Victorian situation, like something you would see in a movie. Like if you've ever seen that movie Monster House as a kid, like that's what it looked like. And the vibes were just like not right as soon as you got out. But I was like, you know, whatever. We get out and this poor woman, she was just not doing well. I don't think I'm allowed to tell you what was wrong with her. Anyways, we get out and she was like, please don't leave me here. Like I can see things, and like she's like sobbing to me. She's like, please don't leave me here. But like, I have to, you know, like as much as I don't want to leave you here because it is fucking haunted, you can tell. What am I supposed to do? I'd be kidnapping you. Anyways, we get inside. We can barely get her freaking gurney in there. And we're taking her up to the room. The whole time she's just sobbing, this poor girl. And my partner just kind of attributed that to that obviously she didn't want to be in another mental health institution. But so we took her there. They did her vitals. They took her to the room and whatever. We were all done. We get in this elevator. And I'm like nervous laughing just thinking about it. We like condense our little gurney and we close the elevator and it says 3, 2, 1, and those are the only buttons. So we click 1 and we stop at 1, the doors don't open, and then it just keeps going down and I'm like, what the fuck? And the doors open, pitch black. It's pitch black. This is obviously the basement, right? It's pitch black and you can't really hear anything except like this growling, and not like that, but like growling of like a machine or something. And it's just like really eerie, and the vibes, the energy was just sucked out. Like it's like negative energy. I'm pushing the button and she's looking at me like, Hannah, please push the button. And I was like, I'm trying, like, and I'm pushing 1, I'm pushing 2, I'm pushing everything just so we could go up. And I'm not even shitting you when I say this. I say this with my whole heart. This is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. We heard footsteps, slow footsteps, like a heeled man's shoe walking from the back of the room to the front of the room, but it's pitch black. You can't see anything. Slow footsteps. And she looks at me and I was like, and we're both pushing buttons. We're pushing the emergency button. We're trying to manually close it because something was wrong. They are about to like come in the elevator light. The footsteps are about to come in the elevator light, and finally it closes. We go back up to 1 and she is like pooping her pants. I am like shaken to the core, and we look at the security guard and I'm like, there is something wrong with your elevator. It took us to the basement. He said, we don't have a basement here, ma'am. We get back in the ambulance. We just had to sit there. We couldn't even clean the gurney for a minute. Like, we had to sit there. And she said, what the fuck? This poor woman, she doesn't cuss. She's a good Christian woman. And we just never talked about it. Even talking about it is giving me, like, goosebumps. Because
It's been 1 year today, so let's tell this glitch in the Matrix story that is not like anyone you've probably ever heard before. I was born in the Central Valley in California and lived in Fresno until about 12, 13, and I've only been back a handful of times because it doesn't exactly hold great memories for me. Well, my grandfather, before he passed, was still living down at an assisted care facility in Fresno, and his health had taken a turn for the worse. So my mom and I hopped on a plane last July To the place I swore I would never go back to. I made the intention that I was going to be putting some things to bed that were difficult from my past. And I guess the universe heard me and definitely has a sense of humor, because this was at our gate in Fresno. Before our family left Fresno, it really was not a good time for me because I was a budding intuitive going through puberty while there were traumatic things happening in the household. If you know anything about the spiritual world, that is a recipe for disaster. It was a psychic storm. I hated this house. It made my stomach hurt. This is when I started to see shadows out of the corner of my eye. I had an overwhelming impending sense of doom that would come over me. I didn't sleep well. Our dog would sit at the base of this hallway and bark down at something none of us could see. This was my brother's room, also the room where my Furby started talking to me, things that it was not supposed to say. For example, my cat would walk right by it and it would go, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty." If you're a millennial and you had a haunted Furby, I know I'm not alone. Anyway, this room was the worst. This was my room. My bed was right here. And it was, of course, the worst room in the house. It was freezing cold. I had electronics that would go haywire. I had a VCR that would turn on and off. It would push out the VHS tapes just for no reason. I had lamps that would turn on and off by themselves. It was freaky, and I just hated that house. I had horrific nightmares in that room. Also at that time, I was in 5th, 6th grade, and I happened to find 2 other little gifted weirdos who had some of the same abilities I did. For example, this is when I accidentally remote viewed for the first time, but that's another story for another occasion. Suffice it to say, your girl was wide open and had no idea what was happening. Again, this is in the past. We're talking 1998, 1999. So let's fast forward. It's 2023, last summer. I'm walking around, my mom's hanging out in the car, there's nobody on campus, school's out, and I'm just trying to take a deep breath and let some things go that have been following me around for a long time. And I'm talking traumatic memories. I round a corner, 35 years old, right? Last summer. And I look down this hallway and I remember that there was a modular unit, almost like an old single wide, that used to be used for kids for an after school like babysitting program. When the bell rang and classes were done for the day, we'd go hang out and wait for our mom to pick us up. I was struck by a memory of being 11 years old, my mom being gorgeous in her 30s, coming to pick up my brother and I. We scrambled and got our little backpacks. It must have been late fall, maybe even winter, because it was dark outside when she picked us up. I remember holding my mother's hand while my brother held her other hand, and we were walking down this corridor. And when I got to about this space, I had forgotten this memory until this moment, but 11-year-old me remembers looking over and seeing a woman who looked super old at the time, but probably about mid-late 30s, who had brown hair and was wearing white, and she was just smiling at me. And my little 11-year-old self was like, well, she doesn't seem scary. She seems nice and friendly. Wonder who she is. And then I just went on my way with my brother and my mom, I don't know, to go make dinner, hang out, do homework, whatever. In that moment, last July, 2023, I looked down at what I was wearing. Sorry, it gets me choked up to talk about it. I was wearing white. I was the woman that I saw when I was a kid. It's not that it scares me or that that's the big deal. It's because of what happened next. So at this moment, I'm like, okay, guys, I know I said I wanted to have some healing experiences, but this is pretty crazy. And I had this feeling that you need to follow those two little kids and that young mom in whatever timeline they're in. You need to follow them home back to that house. So I got in the car and I said, Mom, we have to go back to the house. And she said, what happened? Is everything okay? And I said, yeah, everything's okay, but we gotta go. And sorry, I'm getting red just talking about it. We parked in front of this house. That was my bedroom. And I heard this instruction, call back now. That little girl, that young part of you that was left in this house, that never got to grow up, that stayed there, and reintegrate that piece of you that was lost. My dog doesn't like it when I get upset. Call back that piece of you that was lost to the shadow. And it's time to reintegrate all of the pieces of you that were lost. So I sat there for a minute and I called her home. So if you've ever seen a mysterious figure that you couldn't quite make sense of, that seemed inviting and kind, but never really figured it out, maybe it was you. And maybe the lesson is that the one who was supposed to save us all these years is us.
Guys, this girl keeps repeating the same thing over and over. She's going to get out of her car. Watch her. She's done this 3 times. She's going to get out of her car. She's going to walk around the front. She's going to go get in the passenger side. All right, watch her. This is super creepy. I don't know if it's like a glitch or what. Now she's going to get out and she's going to walk around the back of the car. Okay? She's going to walk around the back of the car and then she's going to get in. She's done this 3 times. She does it every 10 minutes. I'm just sitting in the parking lot. Now she's going to look to the right, and then she's going to go. Now, whenever she leaves, she's going to go over here, and then she's going to take a right and leave out of the parking lot. Like the first 2 times, what is going on? Now she's going to go, and she's going to go to the highway over there. She goes out to the highway over there, takes a right, and then heads back.
If you've never experienced a glitch in the Matrix, this is probably not the video for you, so just continue scrolling because you're going to think that I'm crazy. If you have experienced it, I want to know if anyone has experienced anything similar to this, especially from a young age. So I've had multiple glitches throughout my life, especially now that I've gotten older, I can understand what's happening. But I want to talk about the very first one. The very first one that I can remember that I was like, am I crazy or are all of you crazy? So this is around 4th or 5th grade, elementary school. My grandma would pick me up from school 2 to 3 times a week. We were very close. My grandma lived like rock throwing distance from my house. So I would literally travel up the creek through the woods to my grandmother's house that I would go. I would spend all my time with my grandma. So after school, she would pick me up and we would go to Wendy's. That was our thing. We loved Wendy's. My grandma has very prominent blue eyes, like crystal clear. It's a very prominent feature about my grandma that she has very blue, piercing crystal blue eyes. So this one day, she picks me up. We go to Wendy's. We're sitting in the glass area. If you know Wendy's back then you know what I'm talking about. We're sitting there eating our fries, and I look up at my grandma, and my grandma has brown eyes. They're brown. And so naturally, I was like, Grandma, your eyes are brown. And she was like, yeah, Lauren, I have brown eyes. I was like, Grandma, no, you don't. You have very blue eyes. What do you mean you have blue eyes? And she was like, no, Lauren, I have brown eyes. So whatever, we eat. She takes me home, and this is the whole thing. I talked to my mom too, and I'm like, Mom, Grandma has brown eyes. And my mom was like, yeah, Grandma has brown eyes. No, she doesn't. She has blue eyes. What do you mean she has brown eyes? Like, everyone knows that Grandma has blue eyes, and everybody was making me believe that I was crazy. The next time that I see my grandma, 3 days later, my grandma has blue eyes again. So of course I'm like, Grandma, your eyes are blue. Why are your eyes blue? And she's like, yeah, Lauren, I have blue eyes. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? We just had this conversation 3 days ago when you had brown eyes and I told you that you had blue eyes and you're telling me that you have brown eyes, but I know that you have blue eyes. And now that you have blue eyes again, you're telling me that you know you have blue eyes? I'm not crazy. This was not a dream. I did not dream this. This happened. This was reality. I mean, it was like Monday on Thursday. Now you have blue eyes again? Like, I did not make this up. This is still with me to this day. I think about this to this day. My grandma had brown eyes that day that I went to Wendy's with her after school. I didn't make that shit up. Like, that was reality. I didn't miss a day. Like, this happened. Has anybody else ever experienced anything like that? With people's eyes changing colors? And they fully believe that their eyes were a different color. I'll never forget that.
This has got to be the most confusing glitch in the Matrix of all. The last one has my mind absolutely blown.
It's snowing pretty hard.
Okay, you see the snow in the mirror, but it's not snowing outside.
So clear. Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Somebody please explain that to me.
So it's moving.
Okay.
But wait, when we start moving, it looks like it's still. And then
What?
you can tell it's moving again.
Okay. I don't know if anybody can explain that.
Crazy.
That's insane.
No. My fear's happening. My fear's happening of not being able to get to my car in a parking garage.
Okay.
There's my car. Yep. Okay. If I go down that way, that brings me down. So I'm walking up. But when I round the corner, nothing.
What?
So now I'm coming back down. I'm so confused. I know I'm on level 3.
This one's only
but
for a
like,
week, y'all.
why? Why can't I get right there? I'm gonna have to freaking hop the barrier. I saw another ghost TikTok on this once, and this was the same thing. And it was like an obstacle course. Why?
That's a glitch if I've ever seen one.
Help me.
The sky just glitched in front of hundreds of people, and they got it all on camera. This is insane. Have you ever seen the sky do anything like this? Something's not adding up. Thanks for watching. As always, stay weird.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Happy 30 days of Halloween. Happy Halloween. I am your host, Jenny. I hope you're ready for this Halloween month. So first of all, I did not decorate for Halloween because I'm moving. So there's no point of decorating when you're breaking things down. You know what I mean? So no decorating for me, but I will be here for you every single day with a spooky, scary video, scary story. So this is our first episode. I hope you're ready. Episode. My Invisaligns are in. So this is our first episode. So I hope you're ready, and I will see you at the end of the video. Bye.